Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm making this video after a long time. Miles is ready. Just going for a short city ride. As you might have already seen in the thumbnail, I just wanted to go and try the new CB350 and see the sort of like the difference between Highness and the CB. As a Highness owner, I want to feel how the other bike feels. Let's see. Alright folks, see you on the road. So folks, here we are. I'm on my way to this Honda showroom where I bought my bike from. I'm hoping that CB350 bike is there. I think the test unit has come. I'm not sure. We'll go and check. I didn't call them beforehand. Just wanted to feel that bike, right? To see the difference, to tell you guys what I feel, my personal opinion. Let's see how it feels when I ride that bike. So as for this bike, I really haven't done a review of this bike. I've been to a lot of places by now. I've done the shorter ones and I've done one very long ride, Munnar, which was going and coming. It was 1100 plus kilometers. So I think now I'm okay to give my opinion and review about this bike. But I'm not sure if I'm going to do it in this video because it's going to be very long if I do that. This is Ricardo and this is his X-Pulse 200T. Very nice bike, very capable. It suits him as well. That's his new Exor helmet. This is my cousin who was with me when I bought this bike. You guys must have seen in the first video. This is his bike, X-Pulse 200T. So like I was saying, review. I'm not going to give a review right now, but I'll give my opinion, okay, like my impression of this bike, so that when I'm riding that bike, you guys also know what is there in my mind, the differences that I'm thinking about, right? First of all, my opinion about this bike. Let's start with the engine. Let me clear this traffic first before I go into that, okay? So finally I've come to a road which will be relatively open at this time. So yes, my impression of this bike. First, let's start with the engine. Okay, by now everybody has heard, right? Lots of reviews. Deep Rajan Sachan is the main guy, right, for Honda bike vlogs to be very famous. So as you've heard from him as well, the engine is the best quality of this bike. So if you have to define like one trait which differentiates this bike from every other bike in this segment, 350cc segment, that will be the engine. This bike's engine is extremely next level smooth. Next, the clutch, slip and assist clutch, extremely light, right? One problem on my previous bike used to be traffic and constant gear shifts in the traffic, right? Regardless of whether you have Royal Enfield, long stroke bike, short stroke bike, doesn't matter. When you are in like bumper to bumper traffic, you will have to use your clutch a lot. You'll have to use, because your bumper to bumper traffic is like, it will move a little bit, it will stop, it will move a little bit, it will stop, regardless of whether your bike is long stroke gearing ratio, whether it has a shorter gearing ratio, doesn't matter. Okay, you will stop, you will use the clutch multiple times. In that case, you will thank this slip and assist clutch. It's so light. Next, what I like about this bike is the seating posture. The center of gravity, the weight distribution of this bike is done brilliantly. Extremely good. So the way you can maneuver this bike in turns, in traffic. I was telling my cousin that you can actually learn how to ride a motorcycle on this bike. Even though it is a heavy bike, once it starts moving, you can actually learn to ride a motorcycle on this bike because the maneuverability is that easy. Now coming to things which are like so-so, right? People talk about gearing ratio, long gearing, need to change the gear. Like I said, clutch is so light, you won't mind changing gears. I don't mind changing gears. I don't even notice that I'm shifting constantly or not. I don't even notice that anymore, right? So it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Next, what I don't like about this bike, I really don't like about this bike, is the headlamps. Headlamps are pathetic. I don't know why they did it on purpose, but headlamps are, it's like very, 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 very bad. As long as there are street lamps, you're okay, right? When you reach a section when there are no street lamps, this headlamp will not work. It will not work. It's unsafe, right? It will not give you any sense of safety when you're riding in the night. So headlamps are pathetic, so you'll have to put an aux light. Yes, that is the next one. What else? I really like the sound of this bike. It has a very deep, bassy sound. You used to get this Dolphin and Wild Boar exhaust for Royal Enfields. In fact, my brother-in-law, who has the Thunderbird, Kunal, he had actually put a Wild Boar before Bangalore cops asked him to remove it, but he had actually put that Wild Boar. So it has a deep growling thump. This silencer has that same thump. It sounds like the Wild Boar Dolphin silencer, not as much as Dolphin, but it sounds like Wild Boar. That deep bassy growl, not that slightly high pitched putt-putt. Right? I really, really, really like that. So I think that's going to be different in the CB350, the new bike, because it has a mufflered tip. It doesn't have a wider tip like this one. If you look at this silencer, the opening is wide, just like how it was in Wild Boar. Another thing about this bike is brakes. Brakes are good, since I have ridden bikes which were worse in terms of braking, I feel like this bike's brake is excellent. I don't know about other bikes how it is right now currently, but I feel like this bike's brakes are good. Another thing which I feel like could have been better in this bike is the back suspension. Suspension is on the stiffer side. See, this is all unscripted, okay guys? I'm not like I don't do this like a job where I have to script everything down and make it another work. I do this out of passion, so I don't want to be too serious in these videos. So this is all unscripted, and if I'm making any mistakes, forgive me for that. But yeah, so I think that sums up the impression, right? The highway ride of this bike is excellent. I constantly do 100-110 constantly with my wife Combs, with Pillion. We are always on the highways where most of the time the speed is above 90. Let me put it that way. Okay, below 110 but above 90. Between 90 and 110 is what we are doing, and it does that speed with ease. You can maintain that speed throughout the day if the highway permits you, if the road permits you, if the road is good. Okay, there are no vibrations at that speed whatsoever. So yeah, this is the basic impression. I'll give you an in-depth review later. Hill climb is also excellent. I went to Munnar, no issues anywhere. First gear, you rarely need first gear if you know how to maintain the RPM. If your gear shifts are correct, if you know how to maintain the RPM, you don't need first gear. So that is for the hill ride. See, it's there on the display, but I don't see a test unit yet. This is the new, you guys have already seen it, but still let me show you. This is the new CB350. Badging are smaller actually. The Honda badging and the CB badging is small, but it's longer, no? The fenders are also so big. It looks huge actually. The front fenders, the back fenders, the suspension cover. Here we go. Listen to the sound, guys, if you can. That's the Highness. That's my Highness. Yeah, slightly smaller sound. Everything else feels the same. The tank feels slightly lower. In the Highness feels little, on the higher side. This feels slightly more lowered. Yeah, this bike feels smooth, similar. Seat is extremely comfortable compared to Highness. I think the seats are way better compared to Highness. A very, very comfortable seat. Look at the traffic, guys. Look at the traffic. There's traffic everywhere. This bike is supposed to be some 8 kgs heavier than the Highness, but it doesn't feel heavier, and the seating is a lot lower than Highness. I'm sitting a lot lower. My feet are like properly planted, one side at least. So it feels sort of like easy to maneuver as well. You don't feel that 8 kg weight. See, the speed dial is also different. Let's go. See, let me see. Okay, how this. Yeah, suspension is maybe because it's new. That's why it's feeling lighter. Listen to the sound, guys. It's a new bike, so the compressor doesn't feel, the engine braking doesn't feel it's sort of like kicking in, but it's very new, so understandable. But the seats, one major difference is height. Yes, this bike is, I'm sitting a lot lower on this bike, and I'm having to lean slightly more as well, and sort of like my feet reaches the ground, and I can plant my foot. In Highness I have to tippy toe a little bit, but in this one I can plant my foot. I'm 5'7", but one major difference is the seats are extremely comfortable. I have the touring seat plus, that is a hard seat. Touring seat is supposed to be hard. This is very soft. It feels like I'm sitting on a cushion. Some people will like this look, it has a classic bulky look. I prefer Highness look, not because I have Highness. I prefer that look because it's slightly more modern. I like the speedometer here compared to Highness. The speedometer looks nice. But yeah, it's essentially the same bike, guys. It's the same bike. Few changes here and there, right? Cosmetic changes. But yeah, there's no difference. It's the same bike. If you are shorter height, if you feel like you've tried Highness and it felt like it's too tall, try this one. You're sitting fairly low. Other than that, yeah, it's exactly the same. This somehow is less intimidating. Let's see. Yeah, third gear 60, it reaches fairly quickly. Gearing ratio is the same, guys. There's no change in the gearing ratio. Maybe I'm not feeling the change, but I don't think so there is a change in the gearing. Alright guys, let me stop the camera here. So this is my first impression. Good bike, same bike, not much difference. I will let you know about the rest later. So done and dusted, guys. I'm leaving now. The guy here is a very helpful guy who sold me this bike, Highness, Mr. Kishore. He's a nice, helpful fellow. It's always nice interacting with him. Couldn't keep it side by side and make a comparo, unfortunately. Maybe someday. No, now this is done and dusted. I will not make another video about this now. Yeah, I just wanted to see, it's not about like this like spec difference or this mudguard difference. A lot of people are making those videos already. For me, it's more about let me ride and feel what's different. It's more about ride ka feel kaisa hai. It's not about the specs and the technical specification of the changes. So yeah, I got the ride feel. That bike is it feels shorter. The pickup feels slightly different. I don't know, slightly different. Handlebar feels different. This this tank where your leg sits on the tank like this, see this curve, that feels different. I think that tank is slightly more on the bulkier side, so it feels slightly different when this is slightly more bulky. So yeah, okay, let me break down how I felt, okay, since I'm out of traffic. So like I said, with this bike, I gave you a brief overview about how I feel. So with that bike, very similar feeling, okay, because the gearing is the same, but there are subtle differences. So you will feel like you're riding a different bike, even though the engine and everything is the same. The feel is slightly different, right? So I feel like the difference is coming from, number one, the sound, right? When you do this on this bike, the sound it produces, number one, right, versus the sound that bike produces. Number two, the tank setup. It has a, like, I feel like the tank was slightly lower than this. I don't know the dimensions, but I feel like it was slightly lower, and it was slightly thicker, on the thicker side, the tank. So the tank, because of that dimension of the tank, the dynamics changes slightly. That bike suspension, because it's brand new also, and I don't know if there is actual difference in the suspension, feels softer compared to Highness. Seats are very comfortable, wider, the thigh support, the bum and the thigh support is, it is more in that seat. I don't know about the pillion seat, but that was about the rider seat. Next is you feel, that when you're riding the bike, you don't feel that weight of the bike. But immediately if you jump from that bike to this bike, and when you throttle up, when you pick up the bike, the initial acceleration, there you will see the difference. There is slight difference. This accelerates slightly faster. Obviously it is 6 kg lighter, so that power to weight ratio makes a difference, right? But apart from that, everything else is the same. Slightly different feel, not like huge difference, but slightly different feel. Most of the things are the same. So that's my impression. So my suggestion now, okay, people who are looking to buy Highness and you are confused between Highness and CB350, if you like the classic thick look, big bulky thick look, go for the CB350. If you like slightly more retro modern look, go for the Highness in terms of look. Next, what I feel is people who are shorter, okay, people who are on the shorter side should go for that bike. I feel like the seat height is definitely less than this one. You're sitting slightly more lower than this one. Do take a test ride, obviously, of both bikes and see which suits you the best. But I feel, number one, if you're purely looking at the looks, if you like the classic bulky look, go for that one. If you like the modern, retro modern look, go for this one. Next is, if you are shorter height, go for that one. If you are a slightly taller person, go for this one. Alright guys, so I think I can stop the video now here. That's the difference, the difference in feel is very slight difference, very subtle difference. It is Highness RS in a different packaging at the end of the day, right? Purely you can decide to buy either this one or that one, solely based on the looks. That's it, guys. Alright, I hope this video was informative. I'm passionate about these things, so I just go and make these videos. If you find it helpful, please give it a like, share it, and do subscribe to my channel. Okay, I have lots of views sometimes in some videos at least, but I don't have many subscribers yet. People are watching the videos but somehow not subscribing. So I would really request you guys, it doesn't take anything away from you to hit the subscribe button, but it will help me make more of these videos, to see every day that I have like 4 more subscribers, 5 more subscribers is motivating. So do it, okay, hit the subscribe button. Alright guys, thank you so much for being with me on this video. See you on the next one. Adios, goodbye.